and it's like you get it all in one CD or one record. So I mean, for that matter right there, is the reason why to me it's a classic. He gives it to you, hip hop. He got the single on there with Foxy. He got 22s. I mean, it's just everything on there for you.
I was just listening to Reasonable Doubt. Let's see, today is Saturday. I just listened to Reasonable Doubt like Tuesday.
Right.
Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. Like cleaning. Actually Thanksgiving, right before I left out. And I'm listening to it, and somebody had compared the Black Album to the Reasonable Doubt, and they was saying something crazy. And I'm like, well, let me just listen to both.
Right.
Again. And Reasonable Doubt is always like you can listen to it from beginning to end, man. It's really like a great piece of work. Like, it's not too many albums, but it's really a great piece of work.
Phenomenal. I mean, with that being said, is that your number one too?
No, sir.
All right, that's what I'm talking about. This is why this is a good.
No, sir.
This is a good combo.
It's not. Yeah, we can let that play, please. Yeah, let that rock. No, my number one Jay-Z album. Well, before I even get to my number one Jay-Z album, another thing that I like about Reasonable Doubt is the feel. He was on a very mafioso type of feel, and even if you listen to the beginning or not even the beginning, at the end of 22 Twos. When the sister was talking about,
black businesses
and black, enterprises, and that's what Rockefeller is about. And then you see where he's at now, right, and see the game that he's kicking now. Like it's beautiful to see it,
Right.
Let's say that it is a Ponzi scheme or whatever. The fact that it is in an artistic form is what I can appreciate. Right. Reasonable Doubt, it'll always be great. But my number one Jay-Z album, is The Blueprint.
Oh man,
it's the just because when it came out, I was a child. I was like 01. Yeah, 9/11/01. So I was like 10 years old when it came out.
Yeah.
And
damn, I was in 11th grade, son.
Yeah, he was really out here.
I was out here.
Yeah, I was 10, and I really knew a minimal about hip hop. But my brother, I think he was like just going to college. He might be like a year or two older than you, and he kind of put me on, and I started listening to it, and I'm like, damn, this is everything. And at the time, like, Nas was my favorite rapper, and the only Nas album that I identified with at the time was the Lost Tapes. Just before I even listened to Illmatic, because I ain't have it. I had the Lost Tapes and I had the Blueprint, and they both came out like close around the same time. And the Blueprint, just that album, just that soul, those Kanye samples, it was just. It just touched me. It's it's that's definitely number one. That's definitely number one. Actually, I might need to put that in rotation when I get back in the crib.
Yeah, Blueprint. Not mad at that. It sounds classic. Like it just sounds classic. Yeah. So that's perfect. My number two is Blueprint, and the Blueprint. There's a couple, as we get later in this list, there's a couple albums that would have took that out for me, but Blueprint, what makes it number two for me is the cohesiveness and like the place in life he was. Every track is just laid out, it's crafted. There's no mistakes on here.
Right.
And it's a classic. You can sit back, smoke a cigar, very mature, but still hip hop.
Right.
Still gangster. Definitely like hitting all barriers, hitting everything you need on there. So yeah, Blueprint 2 for sure. And you had Kanye. You had Kanye behind the boards, man. Like Just Blaze behind the boards. A lot of good producers, man. I mean, JJ's always done well with beat picking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, Blueprint 2 is my number deuce as well.
Yeah, and that's funny that you picked that because Reasonable Doubt would be my number 2.
So we like flip flop.
Reasonable Doubt be my number 2, and like, you know, I love Reasonable Doubt. Like, it's crazy because when I first heard of Jay-Z, like, you know, I was young, but then when I went back and listened to like Reasonable Doubt, like his older stuff, and I'm like, yo, he was really talking at work. And now he was like 26 when he dropped that. That's like close to my age. And I can relate. Right. I can relate way differently than when I was 19, 20, or 17. Like, right. You know, but yeah, man, Reasonable Doubt, man, that'll always be. That'll always be.
Well, to me, he kind of, like, Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, to me, he took like side avenue turns to his approach, slightly. But like Reasonable Doubt was so much over people's heads that he was able to finally come back around full circle. I think at Blueprint, because that's kind of like a Reasonable Doubt type of album.
Yeah.
But at that point, his listeners had kind of caught up.
Yeah, he was at he was at like,
to him. They called it to him more so, you know.
He was kind of like at the peak with Blueprint
for sure.
Yeah, he was like, and at the same time was going through it with Nas and Prodigy.
Yeah.
So
Takeover and all that.
Yeah, and you know he just had to ride a whole wave of Rough Riders and DMX, and he pretty much DMX wiped it. I won't even say wiped itself out in 2001, but. You know, it wasn't when, and then there was X. I don't think that came out in 01. I think they came out like 03.
Yeah, 03 or 04 or something like that. Maybe like 02 for that one, actually.
All I know is that X was doing movies.
Yeah, X was huge.
X was doing movies, and X was doing drugs. And he wasn't, you started to see it, like he wasn't there really in 01, 02. Like, you know, he started to fall off. And Jay-Z was like, well, you know, I watched that storm.
That's a good point that you bring up the DMX thing. You know, I'll wait on that one. Later. But, I'll slide into my number 3, which to me, this is where it gets hard for me.
Okay.
Actually, no. My 3 was pretty easy, and that was Black Album. I think that was another milestone album for him. To me, I kind of went with the milestones as opposed to like what's my favorite.
Right.
Even though like Reasonable Doubt definitely is my favorite, but the 2s and 3s, I could have put albums in front of them that I like better. But to me, that Blueprint, I can't ignore that time in history when that came out.
Right. And
the Black Album is another one where I can't ignore the time in history when that came out. It's essentially Jay-Z's like, this is his piece up, I'm out, you know, dropping the mic, which we know didn't really happen, but another complete album. Right. You know what I mean? From December 6th, first song, all the way to the end. You know, Justify My Thug or Lucifer.
Yeah.
Complete records, like total records, man. So yeah, that Black Album, and I mean to many that's their number 1. A lot of people love Black Album.
Yeah, that's the argument that I seen. That's why I went back and listened to both and was like, all right, well, I still stand firm on mine. But that's great that you say that. Yeah, Black Album is my number 3. Black Album is my number 3.
Close.
And for real, Black Album could be number 2. You know, it's interchangeable as I get older.
It's close. Yeah.
You know, because Black Album was one of my favorite albums. One of my favorite Jay-Z albums. Like before, it was like number 1, number 2.
Right.
But you know, I've grown and I've heard different things on different albums. But Black Album was complete. Like, I don't think there's one song on Black Album that I don't like. Maybe Change Clothes, because when it came out, they overplayed it
so much.
Yeah, so
I like that song though.
Yeah, when I hear, I like Pharrell. I think I don't know, but you can still play it from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Black Album. Yeah, of course.
That's all right. So we got one. All right, both our 3s is Black Album. All right, man. So for number 4 for Jay, this is like, this album is so damn good, man. Like, I just feel like it gets washed away in the tide of Hove. You know what I mean? Because he got so many like staple albums. You know, 444 is another milestone album.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and even Magna Carta to a degree.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. American Gangster is another career one, but Volume 2, my people, is a monster. Like, it doesn't get enough credit. Volume 2 is like, you got 6 kids, right? Mm-hmm. And they all play ball, they all hooping, they all doing their thing. But like the kid number 2 is like, you know, he good, but he just ain't as like, he not a legend.
Right.
But he's still balling.
Right.
So this is like child number 2 or child number 3. Whatever album this is on Jay-Z's Discogs, this is probably album number 3 for him. But Volume 2 is such a beast. Like, you know, if we go into tracks, and Elijah, you pointed to earlier the whole DMX thing. In 1998, DMX was a monster.
Yeah. It was curtains.
I mean, DMX
2 back-to-back number 1 albums.
running it. And Jay just had to like stay in his lane and do what he could. But Intro, handed down with Bleak, Primo, classic record. Jay's not even on there. That's the
Bleak killed.
That's the Bleak. You know, reporting from the streets. That's your little Bleak. You know what I mean? That joint's crazy. Hard Knock Life, banger. If I Should Die, crazy track. Ride or Die, a great joint. Nigga What, Nigga Who, Timberland joint, killed that. Money Cash Rolls with X. A Week Ago with Too Short, classic. Coming to Age Part 2 with Bleak. Can I Get Her? Y'all remember that? Ja Rule, the single. Paper Chase with Foxy. That was another Timberland cut. That was crazy. Reservoir Dogs with the whole LOX and Beanie and Sauce Money.
Yeah. Beans killed that.
Oh my God. That
Beans murdered that.
Reservoir Dogs is like it's a moment. It's a moment in history. And then It's Like That was my joint with Kid Capri. I always like that song. Love Volume 2, man. It's a classic to me. I just don't hear it talked about enough.
Right.
And Quiet Is Kept, that is his biggest selling album to date. It went 5 times platinum.
Yeah, so he switched it up a little bit. Yeah. 99 was a good time. Or 98.
98 going in 99, yeah.
Number 4, we on 4s. My number 4, surprisingly, I don't think nobody puts that on their top 5 Jay-Z albums, but this is one of the first albums.
Oh, what you got? Yours.
Yeah, what I got.
Yeah.
Volume 2 is great. Volume 2 is definitely great, but it didn't make it to my top 5, surprisingly. Okay. But number 4 for me is The Dynasty. And,
wow.
And it's just how I came to listen to it, because, again, you know, I was listening to music, the hip hop that I would find, because there wasn't really no internet
right
back then. If you didn't have mixtapes, you didn't have albums, you know, you wasn't really gonna, or listening to the radio, you wasn't gonna really find these records.
Right.
And my brother got The Dynasty, and I remember we put it on the Xbox or put it on something. We was listening to it, and I'm listening to it. I'm like, yo, this Jay-Z hot as hell, like. And it was more like a compilation album, because
it was a group album.
It was more like a compilation album.
It's like his firm album, basically.
Yeah, because and then the Rough Riders had their album like Ride or Die Volume 1. So he was like, I'm gonna make it a compilation, like, but it's gonna be my album. Jay-Z, like, I'm gonna get this bag.
I remember this, boy. When I hear this intro, it make me get cold, because I remember it was in the wintertime. And I just feel cold. I remember riding around in the hoopty.
Look, he took forever to even start spitting on this joint. He was just letting the beat build, just like, yeah. Dynasty is number 4. It probably don't get a lot of love, or the love that it should get, because
that's the street album right there.
Yeah, it's more like a compilation album, but like, that's where I really found out about Beans. I really found out about Bleak. Free was on there. It was a good album. Like, When I Had a Hustler, He had the joint with R. Kelly, you know, the Dynasty, the intro, You, Me, Him, Her.